Take 12. Roe v. Wade was a Supreme Court case heard in 1973 between Jane Roe and Henry Wade. Jane Roe was a woman seeking an abortion in Texas, where Texas law made it illegal except when threatening the health of the mother or if it was from rape or incest. So she was not allowed to get one because she didn't fit any of these. It started in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas, where it was agreed unconstitutional under the Ninth Amendment's privacy protections that were implied. However, this was later overturned by a different court, and it was eventually got all the way to the Supreme Court, where it was ruled 7-2 that it was unconstitutional using the 14th Amendment's due process clause. So the question at the heart of Roe v. Wade was whether the Constitution recognized a woman's right to terminate her pregnancy by abortion. Specifically, they dealt in the matters of whether or not there was a right to privacy implied in the Constitution. There were two problems with this. One, people were questioning whether it was justiciable by the court at all, which Chief Justice Warren said it was because it had two compelling government interests, that being life and liberty. And then also there was a question of whether or not they could rule on it, because by the time it got to the Supreme Court in 1973, Roe was no longer pregnant as she had had an abortion in a different place. So they were wondering whether it would still apply or not. However, they decided to rule on it anyways. So it was deemed unconstitutional by the 14th Amendment due process clause, which implies a right to privacy, as it says that no state shall deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, which Roe was not granted. So, as I said before, there's no right to privacy that is explicitly stated in the Constitution. It has been implied through the First, Fourth, and Ninth, and 14th Amendments, as it is here. And so for Roe, this meant that states had less basis to make laws limiting abortion in the first trimester. They still had a lot of leeway in how they wanted to limit abortion in the second and third trimesters, when the fetus was usually considered viable. Up until then, there hadn't been very many federal laws dealing with abortion. It was pretty much on a state-by-state basis. So that also feeds into why part of the reason it was so controversial was that many people saw it as judicial activism by the court, and judicial activism is where the court is sort of making, or at least heavily influencing, how laws are made, which many people take issue with, as the court is technically only supposed to rule on whether the law is constitutional or not. And so many believe it was an overreach by the court, which helped bolster the anti-abortion movement, which pretty much gained a lot of traction immediately after Roe v. Wade was decided. So mostly that was led by conservatives who believed that it was corrupting traditional family values. So every case since then has upheld Roe v. Wade. It has not been overturned yet. However, many cases have tried, one of the most prominent being Casey v. Planned Parenthood in 1992, which upheld Roe but allowed many restrictions to be placed on abortion by the states. This Planned Parenthood was in Pennsylvania, and at that time, Pennsylvania state law was requiring that women have informed consent before they got an abortion, and that their husbands had to know if they were going to get one. They imposed wait times and many other things that made it very hard for women to get abortions, even in the first trimester, which was all deemed constitutional. So currently this has led to the passing of heartbeat bills, which limit abortion to only before the first 6 weeks, which is usually when the heartbeat of a fetus can be detected. However, many women don't know that they're pregnant, so this has drawn a lot of criticism as well. And many of these bills are designed to specifically challenge Roe v. Wade in hopes that it will make it to the Supreme Court and then overturn it with the more conservative Supreme Court that we currently have. Okay, so quick recap. Roe v. Wade was a case heard in 1973 by the Supreme Court, ruling on whether or not it is an invasion of privacy, and whether a woman has a right to an abortion. And then it was determined using the 14th Amendment's due process clause to imply a right to privacy for women seeking an abortion. Thank you.